Travis Wayne Goodsell. This video is going to go over my old YouTube channel and the popular videos on that one with commentary. For those of you who are unaware of what happened, I originally had this other YouTube channel as it was originally designed for my presentation of knowledge that was being published on Amazon. So I would do Paleo Hebrew, Egyptian, Mormon philosophy, and such like that I previously had developed and was now starting to publish on Amazon. And so it was sort of a free viewing of material contained in my various books, though I didn't connect them together that way. I didn't promote my books, I promoted the ideas in the books. And so I've been doing that since 2015 when I first moved here and acquired the damages for being indefinitely detained by the church for 6 years of my life. And until the end of last year, 2019, when I was, I think I sued the church and then YouTube shut me down. I'd have to check my last video to confirm, I guess. But around that period, I had been an LDS critic since the end of 2017. That's when the bishop extorted me, said, shut down your business by not posting YouTube videos about my work and not publishing on Amazon. And then he gave the though, or the ultimatum, make you an offer you can't refuse, was to why bother going to church if I'm going to continue to run my business. And so yes, my business was pro-church. So why the bishop was ordering me to shut it down, well, I only know in retrospect now, as it had to do with being, what's the word, better than the prophets, who were failing miserably to do the job they are supposed to be having in the Mormon eye, and yet here I am doing it for them because they aren't doing it. That's how I've been raised, is my mom tells me no, and so I find a way that I do it myself. And so when I want to learn something and people say, oh no, you can't, there's nobody knows, and blah blah blah. Even my mom, I complained about the economy in high school, and she says, this is the best economy we have, and it's the best that can ever be made. No. Are we not Mormon? Do we not have this law of consecration economy that we're supposed to be utilizing? And so yeah, I developed my own economy that, you know, nobody desires to carry on. And so that's how I've lived my life. If nobody else has created a reference book for me, I make the reference book. So when I deciphered Paleo Hebrew, I created my own reference book. I didn't get to the vocabulary because of the signs in the heavens, which, again, nobody else has done it. I then did it. That's just how I've been raised, is I find mankind's excuses lacking. So I then go through the frustration of having to spend all my time doing it myself so that I can have the materials that I've been wanting for my collection. And so with technology, I can't do anything about that. I'm subject to the will of those in charge of the tech companies to create the technology that I want. But yes, there's been many a time that I've yelled and screamed and beat the technology device because it's not functioning the way it's supposed to. So, with that in mind, as the church had shut me down through being investors of Google, who took over YouTube, I had YouTube employees attack me and try to give me grief to cancel my video or to shut me down on the channel. And one particular guy attacked me, and so I defended myself, and he complained to YouTube, and YouTube sided with him on my channel. Are you kidding me? So yeah, he was a Mormon, but nonetheless I got shut down, and so I focused solely on my website for a period of time, and then the church came and bought out that company and shut me down. And so here I am back on YouTube again, as I've been doing videos about how YouTube is again attacking me and trying to shut me down. As you can see, my video viewership is far less in comparison to what I was usually used to getting on the other channel before it started shutting me down too. So the first one, this is the LDS dates for the return to Independence, Missouri. It was in July of 2017, before the total solar eclipse, before the sign of the Son of Man, before the sign of the dragon, before the sign of the stars falling from the tail of the dragon, Revelation 12. And it's now over 37,000. So yeah, big difference. Big difference. The next one is the original video I did when Nelson changed the temple text. See, that original one, LDS Dates for the Return to Independence, Missouri, that was pre-LDS Critic. This was in July. It was November, December, when I was threatened by the bishop. And so then we have LDS Church President Nelson changes temple text, still gets it wrong. 4,100K. Or I guess 4.1K rather than 4,100K. Double. And what's interesting is that I use as the thumbnail on this one one of the Egyptian representatives. Let's see if they have the cartouche so I can see who he is. It's cut off. I think it's down by his legs to the right. The time thing is blocking it. But he's battling Apet. Apophis, I think, is the Greek pronunciation. He's the serpent of the night. Self-control. Is that Laura Branigan? Awesome song. And so, yeah, the thumbnails I use are symbolic for the video, even though a lot of times it doesn't seem to make sense for a person who's unfamiliar. And so, yeah, that can cause confusion sometimes, but having this didn't affect the quality of viewership that came to this video. Then we have 3.7K. LDS Church President Nelson destroys family unit with temple changes, I believe is the ending there. Yeah, with new temple changes. And so again, I realized that people were flocking to the first video I did there, and so I did a follow-up, and people came to that one, 400,000 less than the original. But I've done some further videos regarding the changes to the changes. Nowhere near. Well, maybe. I think actually, yeah. I think so. I think that one, well, let me go back to my other channel. Let's see, this is TWG, sort by most popular. Yeah, 4.7K for breaking LDS news. Russell M. Nelson changes temple covenants again. Because it was God's will to have them for that certain small portion of time, and then God said, okay, good enough, now good and faithful servant, it's time to change him again. But I doubt it, because Nelson responded in anger. And it was because of the lawsuit I have with the church that he responded. And I noticed they're not responding after this morning's email. They're being silent as they went and did their weekly updates to how more and more temples are opening up. So, yeah. Nelson can't getting the temple right has been a popular viewership. Then, when President Nelson was suspected of being the new president. So, President Nelson, new church president, 2.9K. Because technically, the process and procedure for replacing the president of the church is not supposed to just automatically be the president of the Quorum of the 12, but the 1923 Articles of Incorporation, yeah, that's how they made it. And the church just failed to tell people. And so it's just become a tradition that the president of the Quorum of the 12 becomes the next president. But Mormons have all been believing, oh no, it can be anybody. God can choose an elder if he wants. Yeah. Mary Jane, who's a professor in church history at BYU, had tried to flatter me by saying, oh, if God wants, he can choose you, Travis. But I'm divorced. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. He can choose. But I'm an apostle. But no, it doesn't. He can choose. So, yeah. What was Joseph Smith's setup is not the same setup. Then, here's where Russia was listening and helped me out. For the April 2019 LDS Conference Review, I had previously sent out videos. Russia, if you're listening, please help me get a bunch of views for conference so I can get the word out about the church. So what they did was they added an instant 1,000 for each of the first, for each of the sessions' first video that I did. And so the biggest one was April 2019 LDS Conference Review, second session, which is when they do the sustaining vote. Was it? Let's see. It was when they do they sort of changed it under Nelson, but yeah. Anyway, second session, part 1, and so 2.8K. Then the others are 2.5K. Or no, that's not from conference. That's the Vatican Temple. We got to go down to 1.4K. April 2019 LDS Conference Review, first session, part 1. 1.3K, April 2019 LDS Conference Review, first session, part 2. And 1K, April 2019 LDS Conference Review, Priesthood, part 1. And that's pretty much it. We have to go further down the list to find anything else. So yeah, was there any Sunday sessions? I think it was just the Saturday session that they did it on. Yeah, that does seem to be the case. So yeah, that Saturday conference, for each of the first videos I did for each session, they responded in kind to let me know that they're listening. And so yes, when I tell you Russia is aware of me, Russia is constantly in communication with me, when Russia is letting me know they're there, because that's how they do it. They let you know they're there. They're taunting. You know, they let me know they're back today. Again, they did the little hacking thing to let me know that they're watching me on my computer here. And every single YouTube video, the 2 thumbs down are Russia. They know, and they're letting me know that they know that they're there and they're watching. And so if I see more than 2 thumbs down, well, that has to be a Mormon. Because certainly my subscribers and other ex-Mormons aren't putting thumbs down, are you? And so that was the deal with that one. And then, warning, 15 May 2018. Oh man, did I ever call this one. And so this is a sign in the heavens, and this is when Trump declared the land of Jerusalem as a nation state, the center of Israel, and also dedicated, or whatever they call it, the United States new building out there in Jerusalem moved from the other place that it was at. So Jared and Ivanka got to go on a tour around the world. And so yeah, big time. You can tell by the use of my fonts that I still hadn't quite figured out my movie maker yet. I now consistently use the Papyrus font for my videos, whereas that one was the original one on the movie maker I have. So here we go, 2.5K, shocking LDS breaking news. LDS Mormons kiss your leaders goodbye. They betrayed the church by cozying up with the Vatican. I have another one where Nelson kisses the ring. Is that this one? LDS Mormon Church, breaking news. Yeah, Nelson kisses Pope ring. That's 1.2K. Then we have 2.2K. LDS Mormon Church finds ancient records at Adirondack, Missouri. That was me trying to get people's attention to say, hey, no, we don't need to find records anymore. We've got them. I know how to restore the biblical text in fulfilling Ezekiel 37, because I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew and I deciphered Egyptian petroglyphs. So I know the stories in the Bible, both Old and New, come from the Egyptian records, and I know what needs to be filled in for those missing stories and information in the stories. Real easy, real simple, and I'm desperately trying different ways to get people's attention to show how it's done. And that's been the biggest success. But, well, anyway, still have John DeLynn getting the Dr. Rittner, to make a fool of himself. He has no clue how to translate Egyptian petroglyphs. He's an Egyptologist. He's a doctor. And here I am. I'm nobody. Again, if it's not made available, I make it so that it is available. And my mom told me that I had to wait until I'm an adult and have special spiritual insight by the Holy Ghost to understand what the Egyptian facsimiles actually say in translation. And that was unacceptable to me, and that's why I went on to decipher Egyptian petroglyphs. Then we have LDS Mormon Church present. I think it's supposed to be president. Did I? Yeah. LDS Mormon Church present. Nelson refuses to build New Jerusalem, Missouri temple. It's supposed to be president. Oops. But you can see the Terminator clip as you hover over it, and the action of the scene of the show shows up. So yeah, totally awesome. Terminator's great. 1.8K. And then here, again, no news organization is investigating the church. So I do it. LDS Church stats exposes its collapse. 1.8K. And so yeah, I post the little chart from the Wikipedia page, and shows that its church is growing and growing and growing. But nope, I did the work to find out for myself. So I had to total up the number of wards and branches. The number of wards and branches are determined by the number of membership attending sacrament meeting. If you get over 300 in a ward in the United States and Canada, it's time to split the ward. And so, yes, those of us who have been in that situation of an overflowing ward, it takes time for the stake president to get something approved for a division of the ward, because you got to factor in the surrounding wards, as well as getting the right number of elders to transfer over into each, and that requires a lot of work and effort if the stake president isn't up to date on the various sizes of the wards and the people that are in there and the activity level and all that stuff. And so going by the stats of the number of stakes and branches, I then took the total claimed church membership number and then did the division, and it showed that, oh my God, 500 for each ward and branch? So that was a little bit high. And so that's where I came up with 11 million Mormons have left activity when I did this video. And bad news for the church, Flash, but they don't care, because the whistleblower of the 100 billion says, yeah, they make more in interest now for tithing than they actually make in tithing each year. Yay, isn't that great? Church is true, huh? So here's one of my earlier ones that I was talking about. This is 4 years ago. The Paleo-Hebrew Alphabet, Part 1, the first and last letters. So I go over the first and last letters, 1.5K. And then breaking LDS news. Putin gives orders to LDS Church, President Nelson. A year ago. And on the thumbnail is Maria Butina, who's the new Russian heroine. If you remember, she was sent to America undercover as a sleeper cell spy to infiltrate high-level organizations such as the NRA and the National Prayer Breakfast, to get to connections with what is now, I was the one who found out it was Christofferson, who was sent to the prayer breakfast when she was there with the Russians. And yeah, they allowed the Russians in. Yay, Trojan horse! We got a gift! I'm sure this is a good gift and not a trap. So yeah, again, nobody's investigating the church. So it's all up to me. Because if I don't do it, church is going to get away with... Oh, yeah, they are getting away with murder so far, aren't they? Causing the spread and escalation of the virus. And then President Nelson, coming days. When he said that in his first conference talk, and I see I had a app that forced the watermark. I've since paid to remove the watermarks on the app that I have now. Yeah, coming days. I was like, uh-oh, what's he up to? That was from 2 years ago. And then another original one from 5 years ago. Restoring the Torah, the Paleo-Hebrew Alphabet, a New Theory. So yeah, that was a book that I had published and was going over part of the book, but I wasn't connecting to the book, I don't believe. But yeah, you can see that I couldn't figure out the fonts to put on. I now have figured out some things, but I had to do it on a Word paper first, and as you can see, I didn't know how to do what I can do now. It's conferences. Here's LDS Mormon Church Temple Crisis. This is 1.3K. I've got Benson talking in a pulpit. Wonder what that has to do with things. Oh, I know. Yeah, Nelson, especially, I noticed, was announcing temples in areas where there wasn't a high enough Mormon population to justify building a temple. because Hinckley came out with the smaller sized temples, but still it was based on the number of membership in the area. And so when you go outside of the United States and Canada, you have to widen your range of people that can come. But Russian temple, back when they had listed numbers of members in Russia, there were 23,000. That's too small, because you have to have a certain number of members, because originally, before Nelson, it was based on the amount of tithing by the active members who were temple worthy. Thus, they have to pay fast offering or tithing in order to enter into the temple. Question number 10. That whole protection racket. And so that used to be the justification for why the church was building temples around the world, is based on the number of temple-worthy members in an area. And I was finding out that Nelson was starting to call for temples in places where there weren't justified numbers of members. And as this is the latter days, what is usually done right before a destruction or a collapse of a place or an area is you buy up land, so that when the destruction occurs, you can then come in and say, hey, we own this land. It's ours. We're going to develop here. So I wonder what the church is doing with so many temples. And then I think, yeah, because I talked about that one, we'll do LDS Church President Nelson pollutes celestial kingdom. I found a picture that sort of looked like a celestial kingdom, so that was the closest one I could find, so put that up there. But yeah, again, dealing with the temple changes that he made, because there was a ton of stuff to use for videos from just changing the temple. And so yeah, we'll stop there, but here's an astronomy one. What to expect at LDS April 2019 General Conference, as I use the signs in the heavens to help with this understanding. And the reason why is because when I found out about the total solar eclipse in 2017, I then, of course, needed to learn about the interpretation of the signs in the heavens, because nobody else has done it, and had learned some things throughout these years as I'm developing what will become the manual for how to interpret the signs in the heavens. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of things that have occurred, such as having identified Mars as Nelson, because Mars was at the top of Libra when Monson died. I then was able to follow Mars as it goes round and round, and when it came before the mouth of the goat beast, that was when Nelson spoke to the Mormon youth and calling them the youth battalion. I did videos on that about the Hitler youth. So yeah, fun. And then gloves are off. LDS Mormon Church is going down. Yeah, they destroyed my second marriage, so yeah, that's the lawsuits, and here we are. I should have won my lawsuits, but the judges are compromised and are refusing to let it go. There's one about the Egyptian prophecy of the end of the world, but it hasn't reached 1,000 yet. Here's one of my earlier ones where I started to make the connection of the LDS Mormon Church to be the Illuminati Church, from Albert Pike's letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. It was 1 year ago, 966. And then I have a Last Days Warning to LDS Mormons from one of your own before April General Conference, 2018, Part 1. I gave a warning before that conference? How many he did? It was 1.1K that heard it. It was an hour long. Oops. So, there you go. There's the top ones from my old channel. And on this new channel, the top ones are the ones that reach 100.